The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
They were young, successful, and raising 3 children in Utah. Eric Richins handled finances carefully, building a very successful business, while his wife Kouri tried to build a real estate business. Behind closed doors, prosecutors alleged tensions were rising. In March of 2022, Eric Richins died suddenly at home. His wife told dispatchers she found him cold in bed. The cause? A fentanyl overdose, 5 times the lethal limit, according to prosecutors. Detectives say that Kouri Richins had asked an acquaintance for the, quote, Michael Jackson stuff, allegedly propofol, the drug that killed the king of pop. They also say she tried to change Eric's life insurance and control property deals without his knowledge. Months later, she promoted a grief book for children. Now she's facing aggravated murder charges. Was this a financial dispute turned deadly, or a case built on circumstantial threads prosecutors must prove beyond a reasonable doubt? Tonight, all the latest from this high-profile legal drama in the murder trial of Kouri Richins. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you aboard, and we continue our coverage of the trial out of Utah. Kouri Richins, accused of the murder of her husband, Eric. Now, Eric Richins, we know what caused his death. It was fentanyl poisoning. It was 5 times what is lethal. It was a lot of fentanyl, so much fentanyl, that when you look at it, you would say, okay, either someone was trying to end their own life by ingesting all that, or someone slipped it to him. Those seem to be the 2 options when you're talking about that much fentanyl. So what was going on in their lives? What did Eric Richins think was going on in their marriage? Well, he didn't think things were great in his marriage. As a matter of fact, he believed that he received a poisoned Valentine lunch from his wife, who rarely visited him at work, but one day, as Valentine's Day, came by and dropped off lunch for him. And apparently that day, that night, he was ill, very ill. So much so that family members say he suspected that Kouri had tried to poison him. And that's some accusation, right? Think about that. Just take a moment. You're married, you have children, and you believe that the person you're married to, the mother of your children, is trying to poison you. That's powerful. That's powerful evidence against Kouri Richins, except the fact that Eric stayed. He thought he was being poisoned, but he stayed in the marriage. He stayed in the home. He stayed in the relationship. So much so that, according to prosecutors and their theory, that he is still allowing his wife to fix food and drinks for him that he is consuming, despite the fact that he allegedly believed that she had tried to poison him on Valentine's Day. And for a lot of us, that doesn't make sense. But he even changed things. He was so concerned that he changed his will and put his sister in charge to make sure that the kids were taken care of. Didn't trust his wife. And he's a young guy. I mean, look, he's a young guy. He's not expecting to die tomorrow, although maybe he was because he thought he was being poisoned. But if you don't buy that evidence, or if you question that evidence, one of the facts that the defense, I think, will jump on, if all this poisoning and all this is going on, why did he stay? Makes no sense why he would stay. Well, if you talk to the family, they say he stayed because he wanted to make it work. He didn't want his children to come from a home that was split. He didn't want to lose that contact and that continuity and that day-to-day of being a dad with his 3 little boys. And divorces can be ugly. But at the end of the day, poisoning is uglier. So there is that in this case. And I think it's one of those issues that can be argued from both sides to some extent. So how will prosecutors prove that this fentanyl poisoning, whether it's Valentine's Day or the day that Eric died, that she is the one administering it. One of the things that they're using are her own words and actions. Things that she said, things that she's done, and a lot of it is after her arrest. There is evidence they will be using post-arrest against her. And it's interesting, right? Because when you arrest someone, you think, okay, I've got all the evidence I need, and then all of a sudden you start to get even more evidence. And in this case, it seems that the case got much stronger the longer she was locked up, waiting for this trial to begin. Her words, her actions. And part of that is her interaction with the medical examiner in this case. Because remember, she's not arrested for a year. It's not like Eric dies and she's in cuffs. No, there's this long investigation into the death of Eric, which really began, we heard it in the body camera video, that, hey, we got to bring the detectives and the medical examiner down here because he's a young guy and he died. They've got to figure out why and just make sure everything's on the up and up here. So part of the conversation is with the medical examiner, and the medical examiner testified about conversations and interactions with Kouri Richins and what she was saying about her husband. Again, her words, her actions. Take a listen.
Following the death of Eric Richins, until the records were released, did you have an occasion to talk to Kouri Richins?
Yes, multiple times.
Okay, and how did that, mechanically, how did that operate?
She would call and leave a message with the front office staff. The front office would leave a message on my desk, a written actual message form.
Can we see State's Exhibit 122, please?
And then I would call her back.
Did Kouri Richins provide you certain information in those conversations?
Yeah, she provided me a lot of health-related information, indicated that he'd had Lyme disease 2 years ago, and that he was still having problems with neuropathy, so therefore he was getting treated for that. And that's apparently a chronic problem that you can have with Lyme if it's not treated right away with antibiotics. Also indicating that he wasn't feeling well currently or right before his death, that he was not feeling well in general and his chest hurt.
Did you explain to her about the granulomas that you observed?
Yes, and so the not feeling well and chest hurt could have been part of the problem with just recovering from COVID, as well as this granulomatous lung disease that he'd had from his chronic work exposure.
Okay. Did she offer up any other information to you?
That his mom had died from a fungal infection 3 years prior.
Okay.
And so, we did fungal stains just to make sure that his lungs weren't showing any indication of fungal pneumonia. And then just the fact that, he was a stonemason, and that's where he was getting this exposure to what I was seeing in these granulomas. So that was helpful to me because, he's cutting stone, so.
So you mentioned that you did this stain. That's part of the histology. You went back and looked for the, or was that the?
That was for the fungal organisms, yeah.
And did you exclude that?
Yes.
Okay. On April 21st, you had another conversation with Kouri Richins?
Yes, I did, and I believe that I indicated that this case was still ongoing. I asked if he ever had any history of drug use, and she said, other than just using some THC gummies, he had no history of drug use. So that was helpful.
Never used drugs is what your note says?
Correct.
Did she talk to you about those two substances on your list, the last one,
Yeah.
ETOH tests?
Yeah, the medications that are used for helping people not to drink. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, basically he was being prescribed those medications to try and help with his chronic Lyme symptoms.
I see. Did she say he hadn't used those for a while?
Yes, that he hadn't taken any of it for 4 months.
So a lot of back and forth between the medical examiner and the widow. Now, is that normal? Is that suspicious? Is that incriminating? Is she throwing everything in the kitchen sink, trying to get the medical examiner to bite on one of them? Or what's going on here? Or is it legit? She doesn't know why her husband died and she wants the answer. Let's bring in our think tank. Live in studio tonight, criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County, that's in Florida, and former assistant DA in Atlanta, that's in Georgia, Daryl Cohen, along with criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer. Is it suspicious?
Of course it is. But the more suspicion she creates, the more suspicion there is. Get it away from me, but what she doesn't realize is that less is more.
I mean, you deal with what you got to deal with, and so they're trying to give some sort of reasonable doubt here. But this, I think when you're kind of saying certain things with searches and the amount of fentanyl that was consumed, there's just no way it would be anything other than what she's on trial for, which is murder.
Is there an argument that at this point of everything, if she knows that she had poisoned him with a drug, yet she's very specifically saying no drug use. She's talking about Lyme disease, fungus in the lung, chest pain. She's talking about all these other things, but she's not talking about, if she's guilty, the thing that she knows killed him. So I'm trying to, like, is she just really bad at this?
I think...
Like, wouldn't you say, oh, yeah, he was hooked on drugs? Wouldn't you say that if you know that he's going to die of an overdose and, you know, that's the setup? That's your whole explanation here? My husband, he had this drug addict. Nobody really knew about it, but I knew he was struggling with it. He must have got his hands on some drugs.
But that would be too convenient and almost too right. And I think that if you are going to murder someone, you want to maybe avoid the low-hanging fruit excuses if you're really trying to trick or conceal. The more important part about this testimony is that hammers find nails. If you want to believe something, that testimony gave you a hook to hang your hat. If you want to believe he's an addict and struggled, man, there's enough there that you can colorably argue that.
Is there from this? Because, I mean, she herself...
Not strong.
She herself is asked, any drug use? She says no, other than THC
But if
gummies.
you're looking for
There
it...
wasn't any, because if he was an addict, there would have been other evidence of it.
You mean like an autopsy?
Like an overdose?
No,
like
but
she know? Doesn't she know that they're going to find out what killed him?
He would have had something in that home that would have showed prior use, and there would have been tools of said use, and there was no proof of that in this whole entire case.
He
so she knows
changed
that.
He changed that after he died.
Right,
But remember, they don't have to prove it on the defense side. They just have to inject.
I'm not talking about proving the defense. I'm trying to get inside the mind of an accused killer. Like, what do we expect an accused killer to do? Like,
she knows there's no proof of it.
Yeah.
So she's trying to say...
But she knows there's proof of it because doesn't she know that the autopsy will reveal that he died from fentanyl?
I have the story. She's setting up that she didn't know, and he was living a secret life, so that's why there would be no proof in the house.
So she doesn't even know.
Correct. Yeah. Because
so
she
it's
has to go with
so
that.
secret that the wife doesn't even know.
And
how
so
else you do
secret
it?
that his body didn't even know.
And that story evolves as she is playing fast and loose with whatever she has to tell people during the investigation. When she gets confronted with something, she's trying to stick to her version of events, even when that is a little counterintuitive now that we've got space to fully analyze.
Let's take a listen to a little bit more of the testimony of Dr. Pamela Sue Ulmer.
So the naltrexone, that's the one he had a prescription for.
Correct.
Tell me about opioid reduction. What do you mean by that?
So for people who are chronic abusers, whether it's using too much of their prescription medication or using illegal narcotics, and when they want to stop, then they might need something else to help them stop.
Okay. And do you recall how many were left?
Of the naltrexone?
Correct. Would it be helpful to pull it up?
Yes, it would be very helpful.
Just publish it just to
I want to say it was like
the doctor.
88 out of 90. So 90 were prescribed and there were still 88 present.
Okay, so what does this mean? He's prescribed a drug that is supposed to help with opioid reduction, right? So you've got an opioid problem, you want to reduce the amount, so you get prescribed this medication, yet he wasn't taking it.
And
Does that mean he has an opioid problem?
I don't have that prescription. I mean, you got to wonder that one. That's a good win for the defense.
Well, let's talk about that specific prescription and what it's used for. It causes an immediate physical reaction where your body will not tolerate the class of whatever is presented. It is similar to antabuse. It literally, it's the physical prevention from using. It's not a frontline treatment for addiction. You need medical supervision while on it. And I have never heard of it being used for an off-label black box Lyme disease treatment, even though theoretically, I guess they would. The mere idea he has that prescription indicates to me he has discussed abuse issues with his medical provider.
And so what does that mean now? Does that mean the jury may, in fact, be able to deduce that it's reasonable to believe that he had an opioid problem?
You need more stuff.
He was prescribed the opioid reduction drug, but he was not taking the pills.
You need more stuff. You need more evidence. That's one piece of the tapestry. If that's the only piece of the tapestry that we have, it ain't enough. But as the trial proceeds, if there's more evidence of abuse, it'll come up.
All right.
Opioid addiction has lots of signs.
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. We've got our tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to hear from Eric's sister, take a deep dive into her testimony, important witness in this case, plus coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates what began as a welfare check escalated fast. Authorities say the evidence strongly suggests Nancy Guthrie was abducted. But why would anyone take this 84-year-old woman from her home? Tonight, we investigate.
The Court TV podcast will return.
We have watched as Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as a living widow and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother. Both by trying to profit from a book about his death and trying to get life insurance and assets that should go exactly where Eric wanted them to his boys. Immediately after Eric was killed, Kouri told us she could not help us get anything ready for the funeral as she was too distraught with grief. We shortly found out that was not true at all. In fact, she pulled herself together enough to go close on the purchase of a $2 million home, hire a real estate agent, hire an architect to create CAD drawings of the home, hire a lawyer in order to file a lawsuit on Eric's trust, hire a locksmith to come break into and clean out my brother's safe, and attempt to have Eric cremated. She mustered up the strength and resolve to do most of this within 48 hours of his death.
That was Eric's sister, Amy, at an unrelated, well, it's related, but unrelated to the criminal case hearing. And there was a lot of bad blood between Eric Richins' family, his sisters, and Kouri Richins. And that was Amy testifying in that hearing. At the criminal trial, the prosecution called the other sister, Katie, to the stand. And again, bad blood. Take a listen.
So we had gone through and planned the whole funeral. My brother would be buried by my mom, where he would be buried at, who the pallbearers would be, everything to like who would talk, who would say prayers, stuff like that. And at the very end, when I thought we kind of had it all wrapped up, Lisa Darden, Kouri's mother, said, when are we going to talk about that Eric wanted to be cremated?
Did you observe Kouri react to her mother raising cremation?
Yes, I did. She looked shocked, like she was caught off guard at first. And then she went into it and said, oh yeah, he told me that he didn't want any bugs crawling on him after he was dead. It freaked him out, so we're cremating him. And I went on to ask, I said, Kouri, why did we just do a whole entire funeral based around the casket, the burial, the pallbearers, and now you're just bringing up cremation? And she played it off and said, oh, well, isn't that what you do when you cremate them? And to that point, I said no. And then my dad started getting visibly upset because he knew his son wanted to be buried.
Extremely personal. You can feel it when you watch it. What happens here? Who benefits from this bad blood in this trial now?
The angrier his family is about their marriage, their relationship, what his wife was doing, the more the defense explores and expands how angry the sisters and the dad were, better it is for the defense.
Also how nutty they look. A little more angry and a little more unhinged helps the defense. And she looked a little unhinged when she testified on this murder trial. And I get grief. I get the difference between, cremating or not cremating, all the stuff that goes around, because that is a family dynamic where in-laws sometimes can hate each other. That's very normal. But if they go off to the part where it goes a little unhinged, it's going to help the defense.
I so disagree. If my brother was murdered by what I believe is his wife, I am going to be so furious I will not even be able to express myself. And why have him cremated? Because once he's cremated, there are no more autopsies, there's no more blood work, there's no more forensics. It's done.
Yeah, but you've got, like Meg's talking about, fundamental family dynamic issues that when they're wrong, man, there ain't no making them better. Who wins? Your brothers and sisters and parents, or your spouse?
My brother is dead. And she did it.
I get it, but that spouse just lost their forever partner and parent of the child, and traditionally in the United States,
forever part-time partner. She had a lover. Let's
there's different ways of interpreting. But what I'm saying is, when we get into criticizing people's reaction during this first 48 hours when confronting family death, everybody likes to get all wound up. Oh, you're not acting the way you should.
That one I agree with.
Man, that bugs me.
All right, let's take a listen to a little bit more from Katie Richins Benson, Eric's sister.
And you agree that it was your understanding that this trust would provide for both Kouri and the boys. Is that right?
It would provide for the beneficiaries, and those 4 are the beneficiaries.
And Kouri was a beneficiary of this trust.
She was a beneficiary of the trust.
And that's what Eric wanted.
I think the document speaks for itself.
What is your understanding of your role as trustee? What is your role?
It's to administer the trust.
And what does that mean to you?
So to carry out my brother's wishes.
And with respect to the reality of that, there's a trust that holds assets. Is that your understanding? It holds his assets, whatever they are.
Correct.
And that includes cash and money and items, right?
Yes.
And you're supposed to see over that money and those assets.
Correct, as the trustee.
And protect them, right?
Correct.
And distribute them to the beneficiaries as needed throughout their lifetime.
Based on what the trust says.
And that's your understanding of kind of your job, right?
Correct.
And as trustee, you get paid?
No.
You're not taking a fee?
So my brother did put in the trust that I could be paid and I could reimburse myself for the time spent. I have never once been paid for the time that I spent. So I chose not to.
That's very generous of you, and that's because you want those boys to get everything they can, I'm sure.
I want all the beneficiaries to get everything they're entitled to.
Okay, thank you. So let's say 2 months after Eric died, Kouri wanted to buy a car. She could do that, but she would have to ask you first, right? As the trustee.
Can you reframe that? So with money from the trust,
Yes.
she wants to buy the car?
Right.
There's a lot of litigation. So she did a lawsuit 3 weeks after my brother passed to try to set aside the trust.
Okay.
So there's a lot of litigation. So I would work with my attorneys to figure out what was proper.
What's happening here?
Not enough lawyers. Not nearly enough lawyers for these people, because clearly they do not like each other. I imagine they didn't like each other a long time before the death. And this just magnifies every 3 weeks. Surprised it wasn't 3 days.
I started to say 3 weeks after a death and there's already litigation. We haven't even had the opportunity to disagree and fight about what we should disagree about. But we have the time to retain a lawyer, whoever he or she is, and prepare and file a lawsuit. Really?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be defensive a little bit here. Call me crazy. But, and again, I know more about this case, but for this one storyline, this one part, I could see an excuse about why she's suing. If that woman kept the purse strings and she can't pay her bills because her husband passed and she doesn't have access to the accounts because that woman unlocked the door because it's all in trust, you do need to retain a lawyer because you don't have access to anything. You need to buy milk.
That's if it's for like ordinary bills as opposed to saving your floundering flipper business.
But she's trying to buy a car. I'm just trying to find a defense here. If she needed to have a vehicle and had lost all access to accounts, I can see the need. I'm not saying that's what happened.
I'm going to use a shovel and keep digging.
No, because here's the real issue. It disrupts the state's narrative thoroughly, because the state wants it to be a beat-em-up club on Kouri Richins, which I get. She's the spouse. She bought this. This introduces, there's another side to this dispute. There's another person, Kouri Richins, who has reason to be aggrieved by the actions of her dead spouse's family, controlling purse strings, ignoring her wishes for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm not saying it's legitimate.
Right, I know.
don't say it is exculpatory.
But will the jury take away from it that, you know, like the sisters are keeping the money? No, it's for the children. At the end of the day, the real debate is the sisters trying to make sure the children are taken care of versus Kouri having all the money. And obviously, Eric didn't trust his own wife with that money to take care of his kids.
That's a big jump.
Why is there a trust?
There's lots of reasons to add multiple people to trust. My trusts that I know about
because
have multiple people.
He didn't trust her.
He didn't trust.
Let's take a listen to more of Katie Richins, Benson, Eric's sister.
Did Eric share with you that he had used hydrocodone in the past, like in that pill bottle that we saw on the screen?
So Eric and I had talked about that. So that pill bottle on the screen, it was old. It was 2016, right?
Right.
Because Eric had a procedure, but Eric did not want to use much of it. So actually, Eric and I had several conversations. When his back hurt and everything, I actually set him up with an acupuncturist and everything so that he didn't have to use any. So
let me stop you right there. Just 1 minute.
Okay.
Let's just break it down.
Okay.
So you knew that he had used hydrocodone in the past for pain?
He did not like to, but if it was extreme,
he did use it.
Yeah, but he would never like take the whole finish prescription.
This is a crucial issue, right? Because this gets right to what the jury really has to figure out. Is Eric have some sort of drug problem, and could he have ingested all this fentanyl himself, or was he poisoned? And here, who's winning this battle?
Or who knows him better? The spouse who he sleeps with and spent 24 hours a day with.
Who said he had no drug problem.
Who said he has no drug problem. Or the sibling.
Or the one who brought him lunch for Valentine's Day.
But here's I love my brother. I've known him for all 49 years that I have. He doesn't know nearly as much about my daily life and existence than some ex-girlfriends of mine that I've dated for, a few months because they don't have that intimate.
And they're all
daily-
here tonight, Josh.
Yeah,
They're in
please
the
tell me
next
that's the
room.
show tonight. I am waiting for that now.
Behind the curtain.
Come on down. But seriously, that's a real issue. How much of your personal life would a sibling know versus a spouse?
Yeah, but
or
her problem
intimate
is,
lover?
again, we get back to what I said in the beginning, right? Which was, she's the one offering up that he doesn't have a drug problem. If she had said, oh, he's got a drug problem, he hides it from everybody, and then he overdoses from
Maybe
drugs,
she
to me that
didn't
kind of makes
know. I
sense.
mean, that's
right,
just
but
a-
he's saying that the wife knows more, but she doesn't know.
And she may be covered.
That's what I'm saying. You can't argue out of both sides of your mouth.
Oh,
you can't.
you
only get
wanna
one
bet?
side of the
barely
mouth.
met me. Totally, I can do that. And because remember, that's the joy of the defense. We have the privilege of not carrying a burden. We have the privilege of, hey, highlight this and this and this.
Daryl, am I hearing from the defense bar over here that the defense, part of being the defense, is you're permitted to argue out of both sides of your mouth?
And you're permitted to lie or imply. Imply the lie.
No. How dare you impugn my honesty?
I think what Josh
Honesty
is saying,
different.
I think what Josh is really saying is the defense doesn't have the burden, and they can dance to whatever tune they want to dance to as many
But
times.
he may take the fifth in the next segment.
as long as he doesn't drink a
On the
fifth.
advice of counsel over there.
But he better
I'm
not
fully
drink a fifth,
represented.
that's all.
All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, what does the alleged crime scene reveal?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
As the scan turns, you could see the shared bathroom, and it'll take you into the master bedroom.
And there's a walk inside the alleged crime scene. This is the home. This is the bedroom where Eric Richins died. And the question is, how did he die? Why did he die? Well, he died from fentanyl, but how did the fentanyl get inside his system? Did he take it himself? Some tainted drugs? Or was he poisoned by his wife, Kouri? Okay. So I want to take some time to get you into the crime scene, or alleged crime scene, right? Some of the testimony and evidence associated with it. You got to look at it there. Let's take a listen to one of the first responders.
The one wearing red next to the bed, where I just turned around from retrieving that bottle from the nightstand.
Scott, if we could go back to the first image, please. And what does this image show?
I believe that's where I was searching the nightstand drawers for any type of medications.
And you were asked to search, right?
Correct.
Who told you to look for medications?
I believe it was Margie Offred, who was the EMT on scene running the scenario, or not scenario, but the scene.
And Scott, if we could go to the next image. And you pulled something out of that nightstand, right?
Yes.
If we could show the witness Exhibit 1-8, please. This has already been admitted. We can publish it to the jury. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What is that?
That is the pill bottle that I found in the nightstand.
Okay, so the question here is, what is this alleged crime scene, this death scene, I guess, revealing here, and who's it helping? Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer, still with us.
How many conclusions can you jump to and make? Because guess what? Let's go through what the average American's bedside table.
I was just
let's see.
thinking that.
Let's see what's in there. Let's go. That'd be a good show.
That was a show on Court TV, House of Clues.
Yeah.
So my
There you go.
question is, did they analyze the remaining pills that were in that container? And if so...
It was empty.
Oh, so there was no fentanyl there. Got it. Okay.
Well, also, you can tell what's been prescribed and when it's been prescribed. So, like, I think Josh is right on the numbers with this. Like, yes, it was in his nightstand or near his nightstand, but all of our nightstands, myself included, is full of some random stuff.
Yeah, and really, it's the causal connection. You can't just, the mere presence doesn't indicate any culpability. It's just the fact that it was possible.
You're using fancy lawyer words
but
there.
it doesn't increase the probability at all.
But piece by piece by piece,
I learned a couple
it
things in school.
increases the probability. By itself, I concur. But added to and added to and added to, what do you got? A death.
Yeah, totality of the circumstances can fall apart when you present additional potential mitigating excuses. And that's exactly what the defense is doing. They're going to present multiple conclusions that the state has made and said, hey, we get that. That's a conclusion you can make. Just understand, there's other conclusions you can make.
Yep, let's take a listen to a little more of the testimony, and we'll get a better idea of everything that was found at the death scene, the bedroom of Kouri and Eric Richins.
Okay, there's the nightstand, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on that nightstand, Katie, can you zoom in to the top of the nightstand if it's possible? You may not be able to on this photo. Yeah, there you go. So that's a phone is sitting in a charger. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what it shows.
And right next to it, it looks like an Apple Watch that's on the little watch charger right next to it. Is that right? Can you tell?
Is that the one in front of the phone?
It's to the back of the phone.
Oh, okay.
See the
see
little
that.
the
Yes.
little square? I think that's an Apple Watch, but if I'm wrong, tell me.
I do not know. It very well could be.
And this picture of the nightstand, there's no wallet on it, correct?
Correct.
There's some pills and a little metal, like push thing that you push pills out of, right? Do you see that next to the TV power?
Yes.
All right. And were those pills taken by you or anyone else, do you know, to be tested?
They were definitely not taken by me.
Here you can see the Apple Watch a little more clearly, right?
Yes.
And you can also see a wallet that's been added to the table that was not there before, right?
Yes.
Did you put that?
We don't know the timing of these photographs. That foundation has not been laid.
Well, it's in now, so.
You can compare the photos. You can't state when the wallet was there or wasn't there.
Okay, sorry. I'll retract that. That's fair. Can we zoom in at the very bottom of the power of the power TV? There's some white specks on the nightstand. Can you try to zoom into that if possible? Right there. Do you see those white specks on the nightstand?
Yes.
Did you see the white specks on the nightstand when you were there that night?
I do not recall it being there.
Did you gather them or swab them or put them in a little plastic bag to be tested later?
I did not.
Right. So as you sit here now, can you tell the jury what those white specks are?
White specks.
That's it.
Okay, the white specks.
I'd like to answer. Can you tell us what those white specks are? White specks.
Right, so they've never been tested. What do we, when I say we, I mean the jury, what are they going to take
What the
from
guy
that?
should have said, since he was the guy collecting the evidence, is it didn't look like something I needed to collect. It didn't have the semblance of any kind of drug or drug residue. It would have been a proper answer to shut the defense attorney down.
And that's the argument from the prosecutor in closing argument. There was no reason. Why bother? There was nothing that looked illicit, nothing that looked illegal.
I'm just hosting a TV show, and I want to know what the white specks are. If I was in the jury box, I probably really want to know what the white specks are.
They don't look like drugs.
Either that, or you could say, hey, they're really overplaying something completely benign, and both sides are doing that, I believe. And it's easy to then ignore those things because you go, hold on, that's water spots from the last time it got dusted. That's a spilled bit of milk. That's Lord knows whatever liquid dots would dry up on your bedside table. That's what it is. Stop casting aspersions that it's drugs.
I'll tell you this.
That's right next to the dead body, though.
Tempur-Pedic.
It could be, no, I was thinking about my cat. My cat always goes on my bedside table, and the girlfriend's always in the litter 5 minutes before she comes over to me. You could say that'd be cat litter.
And
it could be anything.
Everything in that room was totally normal to be in that room
Yes, it
until
was.
the dead body was there, and it kind of changes the context.
But again, tapestry, I'm going to go with Darryl on this one. The tapestry, if that's all they got to imply any kind of prior drug use or dry drug stuff or whatever they're trying to say, that's a weak one.
Yeah.
That's spelled W-E-A-K, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So how, so you don't think the defense is going to seize on this, or will they attempt to?
Yes, they're going to do like
well, they
we keep
already
saying.
did, right?
Yes.
They made them zoom in on it in front of the jury, so
yes,
they
they're
also
going to throw as many darts as they can, and if they do a few good landings, fabulous. You bring it up in
Is this
in your
darts, or are
closing.
they throwing spaghetti now? What are they doing?
I think it's white speck spaghetti, and they want, the more they throw out, the less they're going to go toward the woman who was on trial, who, by the way, I think looked terrific for a defendant. Her hair is good, her facial expressions are good, her makeup is good. And she looks demure.
The thing with the dots is you don't know what those 12 members of the jurors are going to connect to. It's impossible.
Are they going to connect the dots?
They might have an experience in their life where little white dots existed somewhere. Maybe it was their mom growing up and you don't wipe the tables. Maybe it's my spouse is a man. Who knows? But that's the key part about story discovery and exploring what connects with your jurors. A juror may take that simple statement about, aha, these white spots are suspicious, and it could land terribly wrong as a false allegation, or it could be easily explainable with, oh man, I clean up those white spots all the time, man. I got the same dresser with the same finish. That just happens whenever you wipe it down.
Now you mentioned
which side it is.
Yeah.
It could be either way.
Now you did mention that the most important thing in this whole scene is Eric Richins, and we have an image here of him on the floor. He ended up on the floor because CPR, you need to get someone on the floor, and you're instructed to do so, and that's where he ended up. What do you think of her story? She wasn't in bed that night. She was sleeping with the kids.
Tracks. I mean, because I've had kids be young like that, and they do have nightmares, and that one tracks. And you wake up in the middle of the night, be like, oh my God, where am I? And you go into your own bed. That one completely tracks. That story actually makes sense and tracks. It's 3 young boys, and she goes in at 3 a.m. That one makes sense.
And it is offensive to me when people then take that and try to cast aspersions. My daughter did not want to sleep in her bed. She slept everywhere but there.
Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. Great as always. Thank you so much. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, Nancy Guthrie disappears without a trace. Surveillance systems go dark and investigators call in the FBI. What crucial clue are they chasing? Tonight, we investigate.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. And new details revealed in the case involving the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. You see her on the right. On the left is David, internet singing sensation, who owned that black Tesla. Here's what we're learning. Private investigator Steve Fisher has been on the show a bunch of times, has released some court documents with new details. When the front storage compartment, the front trunk of that Tesla was open, detectives observed a black cadaver bag covered with insects. Detectives partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed head and torso belonging to Celeste. It was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath that cadaver bag. Upon opening that bag, the dismembered body parts were then discovered. Still no charges, but the grand jury is investigating. Right now, I need you to take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. Please take a look. This is Bailey Cash, just 17 years old, missing from Caruthersville, Missouri. If you see Bailey, pick up the phone, make a call. Make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Caruthersville Police Department in Missouri. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Bailey to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. With another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids. There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.